Good evening, everyone. My name is Yazdan Emrani. I'm the Director of Public Works for the City of Glendale. Chairperson Agressin won't be able to be here tonight, so we will take a motion to elect a chairperson pro tem. However, before we do that, I'd like to read the following statement. To help slow down the transmission of COVID-19 and protect the health and safety of the community, boards and commission meetings will continue to be closed to the public for in-person attendance. The public is encouraged to watch and participate from the safety of their homes, to practice social distancing. The meetings can be viewed on local cable charter cable channel 6 and AT&T UVerse channel 99. Streaming in high definition online at glendaleca.gov/live and youtube.com/myglendale and on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire devices using a free app called ScreenWeave and choosing Glendale TV from the menu. For public comments and questions during the meeting, please call 818-937-8100. City staff will be submitting these questions and comments in real time to the appropriate person during this meeting. And with that, welcome to the Transportation and Parking Commission meeting of February 28th, 22, which we're calling to order at 6:08 p.m. May we have a roll call, please?
Chairperson Agressin, Commissioner Yacobian, Commissioner Nazarian,
Yes.
Commissioner Lester,
Here.
Commissioner Bonston.
Here.
Thank you, commissioners.
All right, since Chairperson Agressin is not present, I will lead the flag salute as someone who is in the council, so please rise, put your hand over your heart, and repeat. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
All right, at this time, as I mentioned earlier, before we begin, we need to select a chairperson pro tem for this meeting. Mr. Leitenberg, would you like to cover that?
Yes, under Glendale Municipal Code, Section 2.64.070, in case of the absence of the chairperson, the members present at any meeting shall select one of their number to act as chairperson pro tempore. In this case, we will need a motion, a second, and then a roll call.
I'll make a motion to appoint Commissioner Eli Lester as a chair for this meeting.
I second that. Commissioner Bonston?
Okay, so we will take a roll call. Commissioner Nazarian,
Yes.
Commissioner Lester,
Yes.
Chairperson pro tem Lester, and Commissioner Bonston.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so shall we begin? Thank you to my fellow commissioners. So we have covered the roll call and the flag salute. And so number 2 is posting of the agenda. Can we have that, please?
Yes, Chairperson Pro Tem Lester. Item 2, posting of agenda. The agenda for the Monday, February 28, 2022 regular meeting of the Glendale Transportation and Parking Commission was posted by Tuesday, February 22nd, 2022 before 5 p.m. on the bulletin board outside of City Hall.
Thank you. Next is number 3, approval of minutes.
Item 3, approval of minutes. Minutes of the regular Transportation and Parking Commission meeting on October 25th, 2021.
So a motion needs to be made for approval. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, I'll make that motion. Oh, sorry.
Is there a second?
I'll second, sure.
Okay. And let's do a roll call. Commissioner Nazarian,
Yes.
Commissioner Bonston,
Yes.
Chairperson Pro Tem Lester.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So we'll move on. Number 4. The action item for this evening is a report regarding recommendation to
City-
allocate.
Chairperson Pro Tem, our secretary can read the action into the records.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Amrani. Item 4, action item, is a report regarding recommending to allocate new Measure M, MCCS sub-regional funds for the Honolulu Avenue Rehabilitation Project in the amount of $1,876,827.
Chairperson Lester and members of commission, we have a short report on that. That will be done by Mr. Sarkis Oganessian, our acting city engineer and / deputy director of public works.
Thank you, Mr. Amrani. Good evening, commissioners. Good evening, Chairperson Pro Temp Lester. This is a brief report that is in front of you today to discuss the allocation of new Measure M subregional funds for the Honolulu Avenue Rehabilitation Project in the amount of about $1,900,000. As a brief Measure M overview, Measure M was approved on November the 8th, 2016 to fund transportation projects. It consists of modal connectivity and complete streets projects, as well as transit connectivity projects. There's no sunset clause on the funds that are allocated per agency, and the funds are allocated per agency population in each region. Glendale is part of the Arroyo Verdugo Communities Joint Powers Authority, a sub-region of LA County, and we're one of 6 agencies in the AVC-JPA. And the AVC-JPA approved the Transportation and Parking Commission as the forum for public input and initial project approval. Therefore, we're here in front of you today to discuss the Honolulu Avenue Rehabilitation Project and the use of Measure M funds. Honolulu Avenue, using Measure M funds in the amount of approximately $1,900,000, will take place between Verdugo Road to the east and Lowell Avenue to the west. That would be the project corridor. It's approximately a 3-mile long stretch, and the Measure M funds will be used to fund various multimodal improvements, from bicycle infrastructure to pedestrian infrastructure, and various other potential improvements. Again, this is just a request for your approval to allocate those funds so we can then go to City Council to bring this project forward and get an idea on how we want to move forward given the project corridor and its status. It's one of the few project corridors in the city of Glendale that is a true multimodal potential corridor. And to use Measure M funding, the main benefit has to exist between multiple agencies. So Honolulu Avenue, again, links up to to LA County to the east, as well as the city of La Cañada, just before Honolulu Avenue becomes Verdugo Road. And then it also links up with the city of Los Angeles to the west with the limits that I explained. So with that, if there's any additional questions, we'd be happy to entertain them here.
I have a question. I was wondering, just curious, what does MCCS stand for?
Chairperson Pro Temp Lester, MCCCS stands for Modal Connectivity and Complete Streets. The abbreviation is also noted on the first page of the report. And as I indicated initially, Measure M subregional are comprised of MCCS funds as well as transit connectivity funds. So basically a complete streets component and a transit connectivity component.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't have time to read detail all the packet here, so sorry about that. But just if you can give us a summary of what the scope is. I see somewhere that there's a $9 million budget, and I assume this is one of the portion of the overall cost. Are we repaving, or what is the general scope of what we're trying to do?
So Honolulu, Chairperson Nazarian, that's a great question, and I'd be happy to go over that with you. Honolulu Avenue is slated on our upcoming 5-year capital improvement program for the Public Works Department. And currently, we have an ongoing signal improvement project that is funded by Measure R subregional funds, slated to start construction in the next few months. That is in preparation of the capital improvement project. In getting Measure M funds granted to us and in deciding the project corridors to use these funds for, Honolulu Avenue came to mind. The scope of work, to dive into the details a little bit, will consist of bicycle infrastructure improvements, either Class 2 bike lanes or Class 4 protected bike lanes, or even a Class 3 infrastructure, depending on our further studies. It'll consist of pedestrian connectivity improvements, such as new ADA compliant curb ramps, replacement of damaged infrastructure, and possible relocation of sidewalks throughout the corridor. It will also consist of transit stop improvements between La Crescenta Avenue and Verdugo Road, where transit does currently exist between the Glendale B line and Metro. So all of this is encompassed in that MCCS, that modal connectivity and complete streets component that Measure M funding is eligible for. Also further in the report, in the fiscal impact section, we also discuss the project estimate that you referred to of approximately $9 million. So a complete street project of this magnitude equates to approximately $3 million per mile. That is a rough engineer's estimate that we've been using in today's dollars and in today's inflation rates. And it's a 3-mile corridor, as I indicated in my initial project description. Currently, Measure M has $1,876,000 available in year 8 funds. Now, subsequent years, Measure M is going to have available funds as well, but they don't release that until the upcoming year. And so if Honolulu Avenue is still on our radar and is still a project that is continuing, then we'll definitely look for additional Measure M funding to allocate to this project. There's also Measure R funding that's available as a result of a new Metro passed highway modernization policy. They passed that in June 2021, where you can now use Measure R subregional funds for complete street components. And so our goal is to fully fund the project before we get into the detailed design of it. And we're also looking at other ways of potentially funding it in the future as well. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did. Thank you. Just to follow up on that, so what we're allocating right now, is there a preliminary schedule? How are we going to go about RFP or design, or how much of that is going to go design versus construction? Is there any schedule right now that we have?
So the $9 million cost is both the hard and the soft costs, which is the construction and the design cost. Until we get a little bit more deeper into the preliminary design and the concept process, then we'll have a better breakdown. At this point, we're trying to allocate initial funds to start this project. And in starting this project, if we determine that these funds are best used elsewhere, we'll come back to the commission and provide an update on that.
Okay, so by allocating this right now, there's no guarantee you're going to spend all of this on Honolulu. You can still move them around.
The intention is to spend it on Honolulu, and as you can see, we'll need more funds, but we have to start with an allocation for this year's upcoming Measure M funds, and we figured that Honolulu Avenue was the best project at the moment from a multimodal perspective to allocate these funds to.
So basically, we have this much fund available through Measure M. We're trying to just specify a project. We can get it, then we'll decide all the details. That's what I'm hearing, basically.
Yes, correct.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Commissioner Bonson, I believe you have your hand raised.
I do. Yeah, I just, in looking at, some of the details in the background, I'm just stating my encouraging, I'm just very encouraged by this project. The multimodal, including the bicycle and pedestrian features, I think would be really well received. And, I appreciate seeing the reference to the Green Streets Manual as well. I think there's just a lot of potential for Honolulu. You certainly see a lot of bicycle riders heading up north up there. And I think there's just a lot of potential with the retail and the existing land uses on the corridor as well. So just in support.
Thank you.
If I can ask one other question, the signal improvement project you mentioned, is that Honolulu and Verdugo, or there's another signal further west?
No, the signal improvement project that is currently ongoing is the western half of Honolulu Avenue. So essentially Lowell Avenue all the way, if I'm not mistaken, to Boston, to Pennsylvania. And all the way potentially down to Ramsdale. But anything east of Ramsdale will be covered under this complete street project.
Okay, just signal, no street improvement or anything. It's just
No.
signal, timing, phasing.
Yeah, at the moment, we have to upgrade all the signal infrastructure that's underground, and that in itself is a tall task, and it's pretty pricey. So we're trying to get that out of the way before we actually tackle the street improvements portion of it. And while tackling the street improvements portion of it, we'll be looking to implement the complete streets elements.
Okay, thank you.
Were you going to explain the project anymore, or should we just give input, the rest of our input at this time?
At the moment, Chairperson Pro Temp Lester, I don't have any further details to share unless there's any questions you guys would like to ask further.
Okay, I have some questions and comments. I believe the Victory Complete Streets project was mentioned in the report as the recipient of the funds up for the first 7 years of Measure M. So I would be interested to know what's the status of that project. Go ahead.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. So the Victory Boulevard Rehabilitation Project, which does have complete street components tied to it, you are absolutely correct. For the first 7 years of Measure M funds, it was allocated to Victory Boulevard. Currently, we are undergoing a traffic study for restudying the corridor for multimodal components. We have a consultant on board who's completing the study that we vetted through an RFP process. And at the moment, we are in the first month of that study, and it's an approximate 3-month effort. And so once we have any further updates on that, we'll be looking forward to sharing them with the commission and the council as well.
Okay, thank you. And the funds that appear to have been set for that project it was a significant amount, and that amount was for the build out of that project?
Yes, so as I had indicated, Measure M came to fruition in 2016, and in 2008, between 2016 and 2018, all the cities that are applicable to each sub-region, we're told that we will be receiving the first 5 years of Measure M funds all at the same time. And so it wasn't on a yearly basis. We were told that we're receiving 5 years of funds in the beginning, and to allocate it for a complete street project as well as for a transit connectivity project. So at that time, we came to the commission and we vetted the Victory project, and the Victory project was ultimately approved for Measure M, to allocate Measure M funding. Right after the 3rd year of Measure M funding, so sometime in 2019, An additional 2 years of Measure M funds were made available and allocated to Victory. And that project, from our initial estimates and our engineering estimates, is fully funded at this point, and the funding should be sufficient to take us through construction with the multimodal components as applicable and as approved. And Victory Boulevard, by way of comparison, is a much shorter corridor. It's approximately a mile. But it does have additional signal infrastructure and utility infrastructure that needs some relocation and potential widening. So that's why it's not a $3 million per mile estimate.
Thanks a lot. That's great. That's exciting, and I hope we have a chance to see some design material on that at some point. So moving on to Honolulu here and this project. This is great. I think that just wanted to note that some components or some projects were proposed in the bicycle transportation plan. And it looks like that can interface with this. I just want to confirm with staff that they are working to look at those things. For example, Honolulu at La Crescenta called for right turn only lane removal and 2 curb extensions that were to be designed for future bike lanes, which would mean separating them so the bike lanes go between the curb and the bump out instead of into the traffic lane. That was one comment on the bicycle plan. I didn't see any mention of the North Glendale community plan here. And just wanted to make sure that I wanted to confirm that staff was working with the recommendations in that related to this area. Specifically, Honolulu was designated as a pedestrian priority corridor. That's Honolulu to La Crescenta, so not the entire run of the project. And bike lanes were proposed in the same section too. So I just wanted to confirm staff that has been part of the consideration, since I didn't see mention of it in the report.
Chairperson Pro Temp Lester, those are both great points and great questions. So as part of the bicycle transportation plan, Honolulu Avenue is listed as a study corridor, of which this Measure M funding is going to allow us to complete that study corridor analysis. And as you are aware, the bicycle transportation plan is also undergoing an update and a revision, and we hope to have that all available before we fully proceed with any recommendations on this corridor. Also, the North Glendale Community Plan, absolutely, we will be looking at that as well. On page 4, I did indicate, the report does indicate that we will be consulting the various master plans and programs and policies and initiatives that will apply to this corridor. So absolutely, we will be looking at the North Glendale Community Plan and any community plan or any plan in general that references Honolulu Avenue.
Thank you. Sorry, I need to add that the comments that I made about the bike plan were meant for the pedestrian plan.
Pedestrian master plan, yes, correct.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I meant pedestrian plan, not bike plan. Thank you. Does anyone else have other questions, comments?
Nope.
Okay. Well, I mean, my overall comment on this is that this looks like a very impressive and exciting rehabilitation project, and I feel very supportive of it. So are we moving on at this point?
Actually, Chairperson Lester, would you like to make a motion recommending City Council allocate the Measure M modal connectivity and complete streets sub-regional funds for the Honolulu Avenue Rehab project?
Yes, I will ask for that motion, please.
I'll make that motion to allocate the fund and city approval for our project as mentioned.
I'll second that. Thank you.
Great.
Okay, I will take a roll call. Chairperson Pro Tem Lester,
Yes.
Commissioner Nazarian,
Yes.
Commissioner Bonston.
Yes.
Thank you. And if we're ready, Chairperson Pro Tem Lester, I can move on to item 5, oral communication.
Okay.
Okay, item 5, oral communication. Discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. The commission may question the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. And at this time, Chairperson Pro Tem Lester, we have no calls.
Okay. The next item, commission staff comments updates.
Okay, item 6, commission staff comments, updates. Mr. Amrani?
Chairperson Lester, staff does not have any comments at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, the next item is adjournment.
Item 7,
and-
adjournment. Sorry.
I was gonna say, can I ask a quick question from staff? Hopefully they'll know at least approximately. What is the college project rough timeline? When is that structure is gonna finish? Anyone knows any idea? Is it another 6 months, a year out?
Commissioner Nazarian, my understanding is that it's going to be at least probably a year, closer to, next November or December before the completion is done.
Okay, thank you.
I guess I have a question. This is Commissioner Shauna Bonston. I'm interested, and maybe this merits a kind of a future report back, but I'm curious about the programs that are currently underway, or kind of what our schedule and kind of future looks like in the next several months to year as it relates to safety measures and particularly pedestrian safety, bicyclist safety. I know that we've had ongoing a number of very tragic incidents, and I'm just sort of curious to orient myself around what is the city of Glendale doing to make strides, to make improvements. And so I guess I'm requesting perhaps a report back of, what are the programs that we're currently working on as it relates to that, or even just what is upcoming for the departments in the next year that's underway.
Commissioner Bonston, we can certainly put together a report and bring it back to the commission at a future commissioner meeting.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Sure.
If there are no more comments or questions, I can move on to item 7, adjournment.
Anybody?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. Second.
Oh, man. We did it.
Thank you, Chairperson
all
Pro
for
Tem
your hard
Lester
work.
and commissioners.
This was a
Thank you,
record
everybody.
shortest meeting we had, probably. Good job.